The wild part is this didn't start with one huge betrayal. It started with years of me saying yes. My name is Ryan. I'm 34. And the hardest lesson I ever learned is that being the dependable one in the family always costs you something, not just money either. For most of my adult life, I was the person everyone called when rent was due too early, when a car wouldn't start, or when somebody somehow blew their utility money on a random trip to Miami. And every single time, like an idiot, I came through. I sent the money, I fixed the problem, I cleaned up the mess. I did it because I thought that was what family was supposed to do. So when my younger sister Madison got engaged last year, I was honestly happy for her. She's 27. She's smart, artistic, and very much the golden child. That was true even though she had never kept a job longer than 6 months, and once said, dead serious, that bills were basically a social construct. She met her fiancé, Ethan, at a mutual friend's party. 3 months later, they were already talking about wedding venues. My parents were thrilled. My mom kept going on about what a perfect match they were. My dad had already started teaching Ethan about grilling and lawn care like he was training him for some kind of suburban Olympics. And that's where things got messy. I offered to help pay for the wedding. Not in a casual, I'll throw in a little way either. I'm talking full on, I'll cover the venue, the catering, and the flowers kind of help. I wasn't trying to show off. I just knew my parents were already stretched thin, and Madison had expensive taste on a juice box budget. She cried when I told her, said I was the best big brother in the world. Ethan shook my hand like we had just closed some huge business deal. For one brief moment, I felt seen. I felt appreciated. After all those years of being the emotional and financial support beam of the family, I thought maybe they finally valued me for real. The wedding was set for early June. By March, deposits were paid, appointments were booked, and the stack of invoices on my desk made it very clear I wasn't just tossing money around. I was managing the whole thing. I was taking calls, keeping track of vendors, fixing scheduling issues, and doing all of it while working full-time. Meanwhile, Madison was mostly on Pinterest, making vision boards and changing her mind about flower arrangements every other day, like she was flipping radio stations. Ethan mostly just floated through it all. And I'm being generous there. This was a man who once asked me if paninis were some kind of cheese. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text from my mom. Hey Ryan, just a heads up. Madison and Ethan think it might be better if you don't come to the wedding. He feels like your being there could make things awkward. I stared at that message for a full minute, waiting for the joke. There wasn't one. No phone call, no real explanation. Just a neat little electronic punch to the stomach with a smiley face at the end, like she was telling me they ran out of almond milk. I didn't respond right away. I knew I'd say something ugly if I did. So I sat there. I breathed. I read the text again and again until the words almost stopped looking real. Then I finally answered. Funny, I was the one paying for awkward. Nobody replied. That was Thursday. By Friday morning, I had already made up my mind. I called the venue first. Everything was booked under my name, and I had paid the deposit myself. When I explained to the coordinator that I was no longer welcome at the event I was financing, she went so quiet, it was almost funny. I could tell she was trying very hard to stay professional while also clearly thinking, are you serious right now? Would you like to cancel the reservation? She asked carefully. Not yet, I said. Just pause everything. And hold off on final catering confirmations too. I'll let you know what I decide. Then I called the florist. Same story. The woman on the phone actually gasped. They uninvited you? She said. Like I had just told her my family traded me in for a golden retriever. Apparently I'd make things awkward, I told her. By Sunday, the family group chat was blowing up. Not with concern, of course. Not with apologies either. No, what they had was panic. Madison texted first. Hey, the florist said things are on hold. Can you just confirm you're still covering everything? Ethan's parents are asking. No apology. No explanation. Just a smooth little pivot straight into assuming I'd still pay for it all like a walking credit card in dress shoes. I left her on red. On Monday, my dad called. That alone was unusual. He's never been a talk about feelings guy. He's more of a fix it or ignore it type. "Ryan," he said, with that long, tired sigh he used whenever he wanted something to sound like my fault. "Your sister's under a lot of stress, and Ethan is just trying to keep things smooth. Maybe you can still come to the reception. No hard feelings, right?" "No hard feelings," I repeated. "I've been planning and paying for this wedding for 6 months. They took me off the guest list like I'm some weird co-worker they felt obligated to invite. And you want me to just smile and keep writing checks? Son, don't be dramatic." I hung up. That must have lit the fuse, because the next day Madison sent me a message that sounded like it came from a lawyer. "If you're going to be petty about this, just say that. We still need the vendors confirmed." I hope you're not really planning to ruin everything over one little misunderstanding. One little misunderstanding. I stared at that phrase like it was glowing in neon, as if being told I wasn't welcome at the wedding I was paying for was some tiny mix-up. Like missing an RSVP, like showing up 10 minutes late. So I made another round of calls. The venue got canceled. I lost the deposit, and I truly did not care. The caterer was done too. Same with the flowers. Every vendor reacted the same way. Sympathy, shock, disbelief. One of them even told me, "You're handling this way better than I would." I wasn't sure that was true. By the time I finished the last call, my hands were shaking. Not because I was angry, because I was hurt. It was that deep kind of hurt that hits when you finally realize the people closest to you don't really see you at all. They only see what you can do for them. I didn't post about it. I didn't warn anybody. I just let the silence sit there. And then the real performance began. The next morning, my phone buzzed so hard it slid right off the kitchen counter. I had missed calls from my mom, Madison, Ethan, Ethan's mom, and even a few numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored all of them. But I did open one text from Madison. "What did you do?" What did I do? I stopped acting like the family ATM. I stopped letting people step on me while smiling and calling it love. Of course, that's not how they saw it. Within minutes, the group chat turned into a full-on bonfire of entitlement. My mom jumped in first, typing like she was giving a public statement. "Ryan, you are making a scene. This can still be fixed. Just call the vendors and tell them there was a misunderstanding. We'll still let you attend if you're willing to apologize." Let me attend. Like I was some distant relative trying to sneak into the buffet line. Then Ethan added his part. "You're being really immature, man. This is Madison's big day. It's not about whatever grudge you've got. Be an adult." I could feel the heat behind my eyes. Not rage. Something quieter than that. Something worse. That sharp sting of betrayal that sits under your skin like a bruise. A grudge. I opened the message box. I typed out a reply. Then I deleted it. I tried again. Deleted that too. Nothing I wrote felt right. Or maybe everything I wanted to say felt way too generous. So instead, I took screenshots of every message and saved them. Then I went for a walk. That's the thing about betrayal. It usually doesn't kick the door down. It sneaks in. It whispers. It hides inside little jokes you pretend don't bother you. Little jabs you brush off. Ridiculous expectations you keep meeting because it feels easier than fighting. And then one day, it hits you. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a resource, a backup plan, a sponsor, a piece of background equipment. That walk turned into 1 hour, then 2. I sat on a bench by the lake and watched families feed ducks. Kids ran around popping bubbles. Couples quietly argued over sandwiches. The world kept moving in this calm, ordinary way. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself exist outside the family storm. When I got back home, I had a voicemail from my aunt. She was always on Madison's side because, according to her, Madison was sensitive. "Ryan, I don't know what's happening, but whatever this is, you need to fix it. Your mother is crying. Madison is a wreck. The whole family is embarrassed. She's your sister. You don't ruin her wedding over feelings." Feelings. They said that word like it was filth. And then came the text that finally snapped something in me. It was from Madison. I shouldn't have to explain why you'd be a bad fit for the wedding. You always make things about yourself. This day is supposed to be about love, not tension. Ethan just wants peace. If you ever cared about me, you'd do the right thing. I must have read that line 10 times. If you ever cared about me. As if I hadn't spent years covering for her mistakes. As if I hadn't stepped in every time she maxed out her cards. As if I hadn't let her sleep on my couch when she got into fights with our parents. As if I hadn't answered her calls at 3 in the morning when she thought Ethan was cheating on her. Funny how she forgot that last part while defending his honor now. So I finally responded. Just 5 words. Tell Ethan to pay up. No emoji. No period. Nothing soft around the edges. And the silence after that was beautiful. I could practically picture her face when she read it. That slow, awful realization creeping in. Because here was the part they never bothered to think through. Everything was in my name. The venue, the food, the flowers, the DJ. Even the backup photographer they wanted, just in case. They had let me handle all the boring real-world stuff while they focused on colors and hashtags. Now they had a wedding with no venue, no meal, no music, and no centerpieces. And the best part? The invitations were already printed. The RSVPs were already out. They had already bragged to everybody about how classy and Pinterest-worthy the whole event was going to be. Now, with 2 weeks left, they were scrambling. Over the next few days, people I hadn't heard from in years started reaching out. Cousins, distant relatives, a couple of Madison's friends who used to flirt with me in college before I became just Ryan. Every message had basically the same setup. Hey man, heard there's some drama, you okay? And then, right after that, I mean, the wedding is kind of a huge deal. Do you think you'll come around? I ignored all of it. I just sat back and watched the digital dominoes tip one after another. Then my mom finally called. Not a text this time, not a voicemail, a real call. Her voice sounded tight and brittle, like glass under pressure. Ryan, I don't know what kind of point you think you're making, but this is not how family treats each other. I didn't say anything. I just let the silence stretch. You're humiliating us. Madison is beside herself. Do you want her to have a breakdown right before the happiest day of her life? Still nothing. Ryan, say something. I let out a breath. You told me I wasn't invited. That was a misunderstanding. Ethan was... You agreed with him. I didn't think you'd take it so personally. And there it was. That line. That one line. Like I was the unreasonable one for not smiling while they erased me from something I had built with my own money and effort. I hung up. 5 minutes later, Ethan tried calling. I ignored that too. Then he sent a text. We'll pay you back. Just give us time. But time wasn't what they needed. They needed a mirror. And I fully planned to hold one up. Because what happened next? That was the real wedding surprise. The next few days were complete chaos. Not for me, for everybody else. I went to work. I grabbed coffee. I hit the gym. I even started reading again for fun, which I hadn't done in months. But I kept my phone nearby. Not because I wanted to answer. Because I wanted to watch. I wanted to see what happened when people finally understood that the bridge they burned was the one holding up their perfect day. By Thursday, Madison had locked down her Instagram. Their wedding planner had apparently quit after realizing they couldn't pay the remaining balance. Ethan's mom started begging friends for last-minute venue connections, which in early June was almost laughable. Good places were gone. The only options left were garden spaces or restaurants with sticky menus and plastic chairs. Then came the truly unbelievable part. A group email. A mass message. I wasn't supposed to get it, but my cousin Brooke forwarded it to me. She had always quietly rooted for me, even while keeping up the nice family act in public. The subject line said, "Urgent, help save Madison's wedding." I opened it. Inside was this long, dramatic message about unexpected issues. causing several vendors to fall through. It said the bride and groom were trying to pull off a miracle with limited funds. Then it ended with a crowdfunding link. The title: Support Madison's Dream Wedding. Suggested donation, $250 per guest. I actually laughed out loud. No accountability, no real explanation, just online begging wrapped in pretty wording. That fundraiser made $90 on the first day. Half of that came from someone called Ethan's co-worker, and the note just said, "Yikes." By Friday, the whole thing started falling apart in public. Ethan's best man posted something vague, but obviously aimed at me. Crazy how some people will help build your wedding and then destroy it because they weren't the center of attention. Some people really got villain origin stories. I didn't say anything, but Brooke did. She commented, "You mean the guy who paid for everything and then got kicked off the guest list? That villain." 12 likes. 1, "This you?" GIF. Then the whole thread got deleted. That night, my dad finally snapped. I came home and found a voicemail that was so ridiculous I listened to it twice just to make sure I heard it right. "Ryan, this has gone too far. You made your point. Fine, we get it. But you're punishing everybody now, not just Madison. Think about the family. Think about what this is doing to your mother." That line hit harder than I wanted it to. What this is doing to your mother. As if I hadn't spent most of my adult life trying to earn my mother's approval. As if I hadn't been the one quietly fixing everything while she praised Madison for doing the smallest basic adult task, like it deserved a standing ovation. I sat on the edge of my bed and replayed that voicemail more than once. I wanted to scream. Instead, I opened the folder where I had saved all the screenshots. The texts telling me not to come. The messages calling me dramatic, selfish, immature. Then I started writing an email. Not to them, to everyone else. Every wedding guest. Brooke helped me put the list together. She had access to some of the planning stuff because Madison had bragged about using her as an assistant before eventually pushing her out. I spent half the night writing and rewriting that message. At around 2 in the morning, I finally sent it. It wasn't angry. It wasn't cruel. It was honest. The subject line said, "Why I won't be at Madison's wedding." In the email, I explained that I had paid for most of the wedding as a gift, only to be told I was no longer welcome because my presence might make things awkward. I laid out the facts. I said I had withdrawn my support quietly, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. I made it clear I wasn't looking for pity. I just wanted the truth on record. Then I ended it with one sentence. "I hope the wedding is beautiful, and I hope next time people remember who was actually behind the curtain making the whole show possible." I didn't expect much. Maybe a few polite replies. Maybe some people ignoring it. Instead, by noon the next day, my inbox looked like a live chat. 37 replies. Most were supportive. A few were apologetic. Some were stunned. 2 guests said they wouldn't be attending after hearing what happened. One guy, Ethan's cousin, told me he wished he had done the same thing years ago when his own sister pulled something similar. But the best part? Someone forwarded Madison's response email to me. She absolutely went off. She called me vindictive, bitter, and emotionally manipulative. She said I had always been jealous of her happiness. She accused me of waiting for the perfect moment to ruin her life. She claimed I turned the family against her just because I wanted attention. Then she ended her email with this: "You made sure no one will forget you. I hope you're proud." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Because less than a day later, her wedding day arrived. And so did something else. Something she never saw coming. The morning of Madison's wedding was warm and sunny. It looked perfect on the surface. A few of her friends posted filtered stories early that morning. Group selfies, matching pastel robes, champagne glasses. Captions like, "She's getting married," and "Celebrating love." But if you looked closely, the cracks were obvious. Nobody was posting the venue. Nobody was showing off the flowers. There were no gorgeous wide shots of tables with place cards and crystal glasses. Just tight little cropped photos. Controlled angles. Desperate framing. By 10 that morning, the ceremony had been moved to a public park on the edge of town. That was the only place they could get on less than 2 days' notice. Of course, nobody said that part out loud. But the folding chairs on uneven grass and the plain beige pop-up tent Ethan's dad dragged over from his garage told the story all by themselves. I didn't go. Obviously, I didn't go. Instead, I got a text from Brooke, who had gone mostly out of loyalty and curiosity. She sent me one photo with one message. They're calling it Intimate Rustic. The DJ is literally a Bluetooth speaker. I stared at that picture for a while. Madison looked beautiful. I'll give her that. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was professionally done. Her dress fit like it had been tailored just for her. I'm guessing my parents paid for that part, and by then they were probably fuming behind those tight little polite smiles. But what stuck with me wasn't how everything looked. It was her face. Her eyes looked tense, wobbly. That wasn't the expression of a bride glowing with joy and feeling supported. That was the face of someone bracing for impact and pretending she wasn't. Later that afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Ethan. His voice sounded stiff and overly controlled, like he was forcing every word through clenched teeth. "Hey man, just wanted to say I regret how everything happened. We should have handled it better. I think maybe we let some stuff get in our heads that shouldn't have. Just wanted to say no hard feelings. Hopefully we can, move on." I never called him back. Because the truth was, I already had moved on. That evening, I grilled out with a couple of friends on my patio. I had a cold beer in my hand. We laughed about something stupid, and I honestly don't even remember what the joke was. What I do remember is the peace. How quiet it felt. How different it felt from every family event I had ever gone to. No tension, no forced smiles, no waiting for somebody to say something rude while somebody else pretended not to hear it. Just calm. Just silence in the place where noise used to live. But the mess from that wedding kept going long after the cake was cut. Actually, scratch that. It was cupcakes. Last-minute grocery store cupcakes. Their baker had canceled for non-payment. 2 days after the wedding, my mom came to my apartment. I didn't open the door. She knocked for almost 10 minutes. "Ryan, I know you're home. Please, let's talk." Eventually, she gave up. Before she left, she slipped a folded note into the mailbox. No envelope. Just a piece of paper with 6 words written in her familiar handwriting. "This isn't what family does." I almost laughed, because that is exactly what family does. At least ours. They push, they pull, they take, they guilt you. And the second you finally say enough, they act like you're the one causing damage. The next week, my dad called again. No fake diplomacy this time. His voice had gone cold. "You embarrassed your sister. You embarrassed all of us. You think this was strength? You think this was standing up for yourself? It was spite." Then he hung up before I could say anything. But it wasn't spite. If I had wanted to be cruel, I could have done so much worse. I could have canceled everything the morning of. I could have waited until setup started and left them stranded right there in front of everybody. I could have posted every screenshot online and exposed all of them publicly. I didn't do any of that. I gave them weeks. They just never believed I would actually follow through. In their version of the story, I was the one who failed to show up. But the truth was, I had been showing up for years. I was always there, fixing things, covering for people, swallowing my pride, pretending it didn't hurt when they laughed at me or brushed me off or treated me like I only mattered when I was useful. The only thing I didn't show up for was the final scene in a production they built on my back. And the funny thing, that choice triggered a chain reaction they never expected. About a month after the wedding, I got a message from my uncle, my mom's brother. We were never especially close, but we had always gotten along. His text was simple. "Heard what happened. You were right. Took guts. Hope you're doing okay." A week later, my cousin Hannah reached out too. She hadn't spoken to Madison in years because of some old drama involving a bridesmaid snub. Apparently, she had seen the email chain and passed it along to a few more relatives. Bit by bit, more people in the extended family started contacting me. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just quiet messages, respectful ones, like they were carefully testing whether it was safe to admit what they really thought. I didn't need validation. I didn't need some grand wave of apologies. But it helped. It reminded me that I wasn't crazy. And maybe even more important than that, it reminded me I wasn't alone. As for Madison and Ethan, they went on a mini-moon to a cabin by the lake that looked suspiciously like an Airbnb owned by one of his cousins. The photos were limited. The captions were flatter. No huge thank you to our amazing family posts. No dramatic wedding montage. Just a few awkward selfies and one short post from Madison that said, "Not everything goes according to plan, but at the end of the day, love is all you need." Sure, love. And apparently several $1,000s and a brother you can treat like garbage. By the end of summer, I had quietly pulled away from the family. No more weekend visits, no more birthday gifts. I even removed myself as the emergency contact for my mom's prescriptions. I shut down the shared Netflix account too, right after Madison tagged me in an old throwback photo with the caption, "At least we used to get along," and one of those fake sad face emojis. I blocked her after that. And honestly, it felt like somebody lifted a weight off my chest, because that was when I finally understood something I should have learned a long time ago. You do not owe anyone a seat at your table just because you were born in the same house. Blood is not a debt. Kindness is not a contract, and loyalty is not slavery. They wanted to erase me from the picture. What they forgot was that I was the one holding the camera. The second I walked away, everything blurred. So no, I didn't go to the wedding. But in the end, I didn't miss a thing. Let me know what you think in the comments.